I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. When the fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. It's Rancho 49 coming to you with a board game RPG vlog. Was inspired by another YouTuber's video, Chicho. He was showing some of his board games from the, his board games that he played all his life, they going way back when. One of the games that he showed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of an unboxing of sorts. I've just got my backup set. I don't have the set that I used to play. That one was a little harder to get to, so I just used the one that I've got. And I'm going to show some of the components and show the map and everything and kind of talk about it a little. I also have a hack here that me and my friend talked about this a lot whenever we were playing Dune. And I thought I'd pass that on. Just kind of an extra thing that you can do or not do, whatever you decide. Here's the version that I've got now. Now, from what I understand on this version here came first, and then the one with Sting on the cover of it was released because of the popularity of the movie. I have the other version too, but I just had, it's like at the bottom of a pile when you put your games on there. If it's like the one at the bottom, then you're going to have a problem getting them down. This one was a little higher on the stack, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up. This is an Avalon Hill, the Dune game. I talked in another one of my videos that Dune is one of the first games that I ever, or one of the first science fiction books that I ever read, and it's really gave me a love for science fiction. So I came upon this extra set a while back, and I jumped on it. I was glad to see it. I want to show you some of these pieces that it's got in it. These are leader pieces here. I don't know if you can remember Hassim Fenring. This is the leaders from the Pasha Emperor. But each faction, it's a political intrigue game. Whereas you have the Emperor, you have the Atreides, you have the Harkonnens, the Fremen, Spice Guild, and let's see this. The Bene Gesserit. This is Bene Gesserit. You have all them. Show this. You have leaders for all of those. And it's interesting some of the people they got. They also have these screens here. I'll just show you one or two of these. That's Liet Kynes. That's the screen for the Fremen. Of course, there's Paul. That's the screen for the Atreides. And there's old Vladimir Harkonnen. And these are like screens that you hide your stuff behind, set up kind of like a DM screen. They come together like a box. The combat was done using these combat screens. It looks like kind of like this. You put your leader in there, and then you'd add that to the number of troops that you're willing to commit. Those troops were going to die. If you put that number, say you put 4 in there, you got 5 in there, there's only going to be 1 of them left when you're done. And then you add that to your leader's name. You got an offense and a defense. If your leader lives, you add those two numbers together, and that gives you whatever it was. I showed you Hassim Fenring was a 6. You add 6 to 4, that'd be 10, and you compare that with the other person's number. That's how the combat would work in that. It's pretty simple on how it worked, but I'll show you these cards here. You got two different things. One of the phases is the spice blow phase, and basically what that is, well, these cards are old, is it's a region on the map, and it's got, see that number up there at the top is the number of spice that would be there. Of course, if two people go to the same place, there's going to be a fight. Oh, also in the spice carts, they also had this one, Shai-Hulud. Sandworms there. If you're anybody but the Freeman, you're in trouble. You know, they're going to munch you. Okay, other kind of cards that you have. You know, I was talking about the weapons right there. What is that called? That's a slip tip. There's a gom jabber in here. Yeah, basically you got two different types. You got a projectile weapon, and you've got a let's see if I can find a poison. There you go. Chamas, which means poison for food. And then, you know, of course, you got the two different kinds of defenses. You got the projectile defense, and they have snoopers. That's the poison defense. So, you know, when you get your screen set up on here, you're gonna have nobody's gonna know what the other person's. You show it. If you got the right kind of defense, well, you know, the knife is just going to bounce off the projectile defense. If you're using a poison defense, of course, you're dead. Your leader's dead, so he doesn't add to your total, just be your troops. Anyway, that's how that worked. Just a real simple, fun game. Using these types of tokens. I don't know if you can see those. I'll try to get some of them. But these are your men. Just a little circular token like that. Different colors for the different kinds. There are specials, like the Fremen had the special ability that they had the Fediakin, which were kind of a special force that were worth 2. The Emperor also had those, but the Emperors were only worth 1 against the Fremen. The Fremen were tougher. But there's fewer of them. There's only 3 Fediakin, and there's 5 of the, forget what they were called. They were from that prison planet. They were taken from that prison planet. One last thing to show you is the board. It looks like I've only got half of it in this set. But this is kind of what it looks like when you unfold it. You know, you just got different things. The object, of course, is to take over the cities. I can't believe that others... Oh, here it is. Take over, I think, well, it's either 3 or 4 cities depending on how many players you've got. This is, the rules are a lot more balanced with the more players that you get on this. If you're playing a 2-player game, and like one person playing the Harkonnens and say another person is playing, say, well, I don't know, the Guild, it's just really overbalanced, and some of that balance comes back when you have more players because, well, what they're doing is they're getting a card advantage, is what a Harkonnen is getting. And I mean. Harkonnen's really, really powerful. I mean, he gets the ability to... Every leader he picks is actually a traitor, so he gets more than one traitor. He's really, really tough. And in a 2-player game, sometimes he can just run over the other person. Just really, really run over him. Sorry about that interruption. The batteries in my camera went dead. Let's see. We had just gotten finished talking about the board. There is a storm that blows through. The storm will kill your people if they're on it, if they're not in one of the cities or they're not in one of the safe places. There are a couple of safe places. Okay. I've gone through all the parts in this game. Now I want to talk to you about the hack that me and my friend, we had talked about forever. And it deals with adding an additional group to the to the game. If for those of y'all that have read the books, Dune Messiah and Children of Dune both deal with a group called the Bene Tleilax, Bene Tleilax, and that's the face dancers and everything. And we thought that it would be cool to have them as a group. So what we did is we came up with some ideas, and I put them together as best as I could remember. I was thinking that there was a third leader in there, but I couldn't remember who it was. But here's what we came up with. Put that on there so that you can see that. I don't know if that light's going through it. At the top, you can see the leaders there. You got Skytel is a 6, Bajaz Dwarf is a 4, Face Dancers 3, Tank Supervisor is a 2, and Tank Technician is 1. Was thinking that their man, I was trying to find a third character to, a proper name to put in there for that third position, and then move that down to Face Dancer. Just couldn't find one. If y'all know one, that would be good to know on who that is. Okay, what this group deals with is it deals with the use of the golas in the game. When somebody gets in a position where they don't have leaders, there is an opportunity for them to buy a leader off the pile, and what they do is they pay the appropriate amount of spice for the leader. So if the leader is a 5, then they'll pay 5 spice. Well, like I showed you, Hasimer Fenring, he was a 6. You'd have to pay 6 spice. Well, that spice will go to this player whenever that's done. Not only that leader, if you use it against the Tleilax player, he will always be a traitor. Now that doesn't mean that you can't use him against anybody else, but if you use him against the Tleilax, he'll be a traitor. The only exception to that is the Atreides, if they have the Kwisatz Haderach. So if they're playing that and they've got the Kwisatz Haderach over that, then that player can't be turned traitor to you. But otherwise, anybody that you've goaled up is a traitor to you. So you can actually win the game effectively by killing off all their traitors and then turning them into golas, so they don't have any leaders. And you're going to win every fight after that. Well, maybe not. Let's see. The other thing is, the other way that they can get a gola is through the gola cards in the game. I didn't show that to you, but that's one of the things that you can get rather than a Christ knife or a projectile shield. You can get a gola card. Those, rather than going to the discard pile, they go to you. So you can use that to revive your leaders. So, you can't just take your leaders out anytime you want, but if somebody else uses a gola card, you get to use it too. So that's an advantage there too. Everything else is about the same. I didn't put small details in it like how much spice you start with, and I figured just one token around. I could justify more than that, since you're the ones that are actually doing the, you're the ones with the actual tanks. But I've kind of thought that the numbers is more a matter of population rather than regeneration. The Fremen have 3 per round, and that's mainly because there are just so many of them. But I could justify going 2. Probably not 3, but I could justify going 2. But I tell you, I would play it just as it is and just have them regenerate 1 around, just like everybody else does. But that's entirely up to you, however you want to play it. But that's my suggestions on that, as kind of a hack. If you have an extra set like I've got here, you might be able to somehow take those other leaders and either change the color of the stripe or whatever, or write something over it or whatever. Try to figure out some way to do that without permanently messing it up is kind of difficult. I don't know, maybe put a piece of tape over it and then write on the tape, and then maybe you could take the tape off later. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes it takes off the picture too. But if you don't have an extra set, picking the leaders could get tricky, because our original set actually had some the guild were kind of at a disadvantage because of the guild. Well, you could tell the difference whenever you're picking your traders at the beginning of the game. You could tell a difference. But let's see. I guess that's about all I've got. That's the Avalon. This is the Avalon Hill Dune game. Something that I used to play a whole lot when I was younger. When I say a whole lot, I bet you I don't know. I bet you I've probably played probably 50 games of that or so. I don't know how many. Played a bunch of games of that with different folks. Games are not real long. Like we used to play Risk, and Risk could take sometimes take a whole weekend. We'd go to sleep and then wake up the next day, continue on. But that's a different story. I'm going to hold this up one more time so that you can see this, and maybe pause it. Thank you for your time.